Welcome back. Act 3 of Times, The Importance of Being Earnest Times is where everything finally unravels. All the lies, mistaken identities, and absurd misunderstandings that have built up throughout the play collide in a chaotic and brilliantly funny resolution. It's the moment where Oscar Wilde pulls all the threads together and exposes just how fragile the characters' pretenses really are. In the garden, Jack and Algernon try to cope with the chaos in the only way they seem to know how, by indulging in muffins while their romantic lives fall apart around them. It's a deliberately trivial response to a very serious crisis, and it captures Wilde's comedy perfectly. Characters treating emotional catastrophe as if it were merely an inconvenience. Just as everything begins to collapse, their concern is not truth or consequence, but comfort and appetite. This is the central problem of the act. Four lovers are completely entangled in a web of lies that has put their relationships and futures at risk. Everything is on the verge of collapsing, and they need a way to resolve the chaos they've created. The solution Oscar Wilde eventually delivers is even more absurd and unexpected than the situation itself. First comes the confrontation. Gwendolyn and Cecily watch the men from the window, carefully preparing themselves to address the situation with controlled, icy disappointment. They are trying to maintain composure while deciding how to confront the lies that have brought them to this point. On one side, Gwendolyn and Cecily try to maintain a dignified silence, though it barely lasts. On the other, Jack and Algernon act almost casually, even whistling as if nothing serious is at stake. When confronted, the men admit they lied simply to have a chance of being close to the women they love. Surprisingly, instead of outrage, the explanation softens the situation. The women are not convinced by the truth of it, but they are charmed by the sentiment behind it, and the tension begins to shift. Gwendolyn's line captures one of the central ideas of the play. The men are forgiven not because they were honest, but because their lies were delivered in a way that felt charming and elegant. Wilde uses this moment to highlight the play's satire. In this society, appearance and style often matter more than truth or sincerity. It looks like everything has finally settled, with forgiveness and reconciliation on the surface. But Gwendolyn and Cecily raise one last, crucial issue that can't be ignored. Just when it seems like the chaos has been resolved, the story takes another turn, reminding us that in Wilde's world, even happy endings come with complications. The final obstacle is surprisingly simple but absolute for Gwendolyn and Cecily. Both women are fixated on the name Ernest, believing it represents trustworthiness and romantic idealism. When they discover that neither Jack nor Algernon actually has that name, they declare it an insuperable barrier to marriage, turning what seemed like a resolution back into conflict. Faced with this unexpected deal breaker, the men respond with a perfectly Wildean solution. Jack and Algernon decide they will simply be rebaptized that very afternoon and officially change their names to Ernest. They present the idea as a dramatic, almost heroic sacrifice made in the name of love. Absurd as it is, the women find the gesture romantic and noble, resolving the crisis in the most ridiculous way possible. Just as everything seems resolved and the couples are finally united, Lady Bracknell enters and immediately changes the tone of the room. She represents the rigid, judgmental values of Victorian high society, and her presence signals that the final obstacle has yet to be overcome. In Wilde's world, she is the ultimate authority standing between the characters and their happy ending. Lady Bracknell is immediately appalled by the situation. Two engagements at once in the country strikes her as completely improper and socially unacceptable. With her signature sharp wit and disapproval, she mocks the situation and begins questioning everything, treating the entire affair as a breach of decorum. Without hesitation, she launches into her familiar, relentless interrogation. When Lady Bracknell learns that her nephew Algernon is engaged to Cecily, she responds with a cutting remark that targets Jack's mysterious origins, his being discovered in a handbag at a train station. For her, lineage and respectable family connections are everything, and Jack's lack of a clear family background is treated as a serious social failing. In her eyes, not having a proper family tree is the ultimate disqualification for marriage and status. Jack then reveals his final card, Cecily's enormous fortune of £130,000. In the context of the 1890s, this is an extraordinary amount of money, enough to completely transform her social standing and make her one of the wealthiest heiresses of the time. The revelation shifts the tone of the conversation, showing just how central wealth is to the character's decisions and social values. Wilde's satire becomes especially sharp in this moment. The instant Cecily's fortune is revealed, Lady Bracknell completely changes her attitude. The same girl she had just dismissed as socially unsuitable is suddenly described in glowing terms as a most attractive young lady. This abrupt reversal exposes the true nature of her values, showing that social approval is driven almost entirely by wealth and status rather than character or merit. Now that Lady Bracknell has unexpectedly accepted the marriage, Jack seizes control of the situation. As Cecily's guardian, he holds the authority to approve or deny the union. He proposes a strategic exchange. He will only agree to Cecily marrying Algernon if Lady Bracknell consents to his marriage to Gwendolen. Lady Bracknell immediately refuses, and the negotiations collapse into a complete stalemate, leaving both sides at an impasse. It seems like the situation has reached an impasse, with no clear resolution in sight. Just then, Dr. Chasuble, the local rector, arrives at precisely the right moment. His entrance sets off a series of highly improbable coincidences that move the story forward in the only way possible for an Oscar Wilde comedy, through perfectly timed absurdity and escalating misunderstandings. At that moment, Dr. Chasuble mentions Cecily's governess, Miss Prism, and Lady Bracknell instantly recognizes the name, setting off a chain of revelations that ties the entire story together. Wilde uses this classic deus ex machina, literally a god from the machine, to resolve an otherwise impossible situation through a sudden, unexpected twist. Rather than relying on realism, he leans fully into coincidence and absurdity for comedic effect. Lady Bracknell immediately confronts the startled Miss Prism. It is revealed that 28 years earlier, Miss Prism had worked for Lady Bracknell's family and once took a baby boy out for a walk only to disappear without explanation. This long-buried incident suddenly resurfaces, linking past events to the present in a way that reshapes everything the characters thought they knew. Miss Prism then confesses an extraordinary mistake. In a moment of complete absent-mindedness, she placed her novel manuscript in a baby carriage and the baby itself in a handbag, accidentally switching the two. She then left the handbag at Victoria Station, where it was discovered and mistaken for an abandoned child. The absurdity of the situation perfectly reflects Wilde's use of coincidence and farce to resolve the play's tangled history. At this revelation, Jack is stunned. The man who had built his entire identity on being found in a handbag at Victoria Station suddenly realizes the truth of his origins. Overcome with shock, he rushes out of the room and returns carrying the very same handbag. Miss Prism immediately recognizes it as the one she left behind, confirming the long-buried connection between the characters and resolving the mystery at the heart of his identity. Lady Bracknell then clarifies the full truth. Jack is not only related to her, but is in fact her nephew, the long-lost son of her sister. This revelation also makes him, Algernon's older brother, completely rewriting the family connections that have been tangled throughout the play. Even the fictional wicked brother Ernest Jack invented for his city life takes on new meaning, as he unknowingly had a real brother all along. Wilde uses this final twist to tie together the play's themes of mistaken identity and absurd coincidence. Just when everything seems resolved, Gwendolyn reminds everyone of one final condition. If Jack's name is not Ernest, the marriage is still impossible. After all the revelations, coincidences, and identity twists, the entire outcome of the story is reduced to this single, oddly superficial requirement. Wilde brings the comedy full circle, showing once again how little logic matters compared to appearance and social fantasy. Lady Bracknell then recalls an important detail. As the firstborn son, Jack would likely have been named after his father. This prompts Jack to search through old army records for his father's full name. In doing so, he makes a final discovery that resolves the last remaining obstacle to his identity and marriage. This reveals the play's central pun. Jack discovers that his real name is indeed Ernest, meaning that all his lies about being Ernest in the city were accidentally true all along. Wilde uses this final twist to complete the comedy's central idea. Truth and identity in this world are built as much on coincidence and wordplay as they are on reality itself. Jack's final line is a masterstroke of wordplay. He declares that he has finally realized the vital importance of being earnest. The phrase works on two levels. It refers to his newly confirmed name, Ernest, which allows him to marry Gwendolyn, and it also suggests sincerity and moral seriousness. Wilde uses this double meaning to perfectly close the play, blending romantic resolution with sharp satire about identity and truth. Wilde ultimately leaves us with a playful but pointed question. The play's happy ending emerges not from honesty or moral growth, but from coincidence and a technical truth that resolves a long chain of lies. This raises a deeper ambiguity. Is Wilde affirming the importance of sincerity and being earnest, or is he satirizing a society so superficial that appearances, names, and surface impressions matter more than truth itself? In the end, the comedy refuses to choose between these interpretations, leaving us suspended between moral lesson and clever irony. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye! If you'd like more personalized feedback, writing support, and discussion sessions, they're available with me or with our selected tutors. All the details are here.